Recording in progress.
Good evening. This is the Chicago Computer Society August meeting of the Linux Special Interest Group. Tonight we got tons of stuff. I can't even give you all of what I've collected already, but I also have some good news, some bad news. So let's start that off. Uh, Within the next uh, month, we're going to get the 22.2 Mint update. It doesn't sound like there's much of anything there. It may be some fine tuning, tweaking, bug fixes, and a few other odds and ends to keep it going. 6 months from now, they expect a substantial update to Wayland and how it performs. And Mint is not the only one that is out there with a problem, in the sense that if I normally would run in Wayland, I cannot share my screen. It won't let me. But it's a known problem, and you have to run it from XFCE. I mean, XFCE, X11 at login. In 12 months, Mint may be defaulting to Wayland, but X11 support will still be there. So that's some big news. I have only from one source, and I have no other source of information on this, but a video I was watching of somebody that makes the videos in a professional way. Sponsorships that help pay for more professional type productions, which may have one or more writers, may have one or more people doing video editing. They may do 20 hours plus of video raw and edit it down to 3.5 or less hours. But with no sponsorships, or less and less sponsorships, the example he gives, if they had one sponsor that helps pay for some of the stuff, and arbitrarily it was $200 an ad. Well, they're because so many people are adding in ad blockers, there's diminishing return. So some of them dropped it down to an eighth of what they were paying, supposedly. And that means that to get the same amount of revenue, they would have to have 8 sponsors within the video, which means the video's got to go longer, or all you get is the ads. And there's one person on that same video that reported in at least one occurrence where there were up to 16 sponsors. Because this is drying up, and the sponsors are not getting a return, and this doesn't include people who are not using ad blockers. They're just not buying. The revenue is going away, and that's going to impact the high-end content producers. They're going to have to dramatically change their ways to drop their cost. They'll probably do less videos than what they have in the past. If this is true, things are going to really start looking different in 2026 from the sounds of it. It's already getting bad from what this person says, but we all have to wait and see about the content. I can't get rid of that one. Not sure what's causing that, but anyway, in general, another idiosyncrasy off topic, in a sense. Uh, it used to be very rare that in consumer class machines, people ever did a BIOS upgrade unless they absolutely felt that was the answer to their problems. And they would have to go out and they would have to figure out how to do it and not bork their whole system. Well, I especially with 11, I've been getting mostly used business class machines. The updates for the BIOS come in that normally. Well, it looks like that's going to also now start including people in consumer class machines getting BIOS updates. And you got to make certain if you're on a portable system that you hook up the power supply before that gets installed. Because if you don't and you lose power because of how long it takes the BIOS update to occur completely, you could bork your whole system and end up with a pile of junk. And that's not a joke. So keep that in mind. I don't know how you want to look at it, but I mean, we get in Linux kernel updates all the time and firmware updates as well. But usually they don't touch the BIOS that I know of. Or at least I've never seen in a Mint update it updating the BIOS. So under Linux, there's probably little to no impact of this situation in Windows. But if you're using dual boot in some fashion, hopefully it's not on one drive, but a pair of drives, one for Windows, one for Linux, whether that's internal or one of them is external through your USB adapter. And I would put Linux on the adapter because it'll run much better and more efficient than Windows would if it'll even boot up. So these are a few things that I've come across. There's one other one, but I've probably forgotten it at the moment. And I'm not sure how far we'll go with some of that. But I do have a lot of stuff. Bob Premick says he has a tip for everybody, so I'll give him the floor first.
Okay. What basically I found was, and I don't know if I have the document on my desktop. I will check this. No. Oh yes, I do have it. I am going to try to find a screenshot that I'm looking for. But first I have to save something. Can I have about 1 minute and somebody else can say something in the meantime?
All right, we'll open the floor to questions, problems, comments, etc.
Well, I have a program that I was going to demonstrate on Linux, but I'm having trouble getting it to work right now. I found a new, to me anyway, graphical user interface for the program ArcLone called ArcLone UI. And it's multi-platform. It runs on Windows, Linux, Mac, and I've been running the Windows version for the last week with no issues. I just loaded the Linux one on my Mint machine in it so I could show you guys what it looks like, and it's not working to my satisfaction. So
Hang on a minute.
I'm not.
I'd have to get out of my screen share first. Yeah, shoot. There we go. All right. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I don't want to. If Bob will be ready in a minute, so I can. The only thing I can show off is the Windows version that actually works. So I can do that real fast.
Actually, I'm kind of surprised since that all was from the Linux world, and the Linux world is not working right, and Windows is.
Yeah, it's freezing up on me, and I don't know why.
One thing to check is what platform are you logging into? X11 or Wayland? Wayland has
I think
problems.
it's Wayland.
Uh, you can't do Wayland probably because it's got lots of problems still. You gotta try it in X11.
Oh, okay.
I'll bet you because
Uh,
in Zoom I cannot share my screen in Wayland login. I have to be in X11. Period.
oh,
It's
okay.
a known issue. And there's going to be
Yeah.
lots of applications where Wayland is not being taken into account yet very much because there have been too many issues and it's going to take time. It'll maybe in a year from now, we
Yeah.
might get a Wayland that is working well enough that you don't even notice that you're logged into Wayland.
Yeah. I have the
Right.
same problem when you're using like AnyDesk and Team Viewer that if somebody I'm helping is running Wayland, they've got to log out and log back in with X, and then it works fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of
Well,
gotchas. And
well, this is the GitHub homepage for it. Cross-platform GUI, a lightweight, transparent layer, and runs on Windows, Linux, Mac OS, ARM, Apple Silicon, and it lets you do all the basic things. And it's open source. I had been using a program. This is what the GUI looks like. And you can add filters and copy synchronized files. Once you start it up, there's no normal application window interface. You go in, regardless of whether you're on Windows or Linux, you go to your system tray and you click on the ArcLone program, and then you can go in and pick what you want to do. So if I highlight remotes, these are all of my remotes. And if I were to select, let's see if I can find Mega Roosters, if I can.
holy mackerel.
Mega Roosters. Well, here's Proton Rooster, and I'll just do a quick mount. And boom, I've got it wants me to select a directory to mount it on. So I'll say I want to put it on D:, and I'll make a new folder, and it just disappeared.
This
See,
is
this is what we
this is
this is
probably
what we
Wayland. And
yeah,
that's why I brought this up even in the
yeah.
meetup. Wayland still has too many bugs, and too many of the developers, like Zoom and probably AnyDesk, TeamViewer, and others, including this one here, are kind of
Mhm.
ignoring Wayland for the time being until some of the bugs in it are ironed out, and that may take 6 months to a year.
Yeah, it just crashed on me.
Yeah.
So it's inside Linux Mint. I have it running here in the system tray, and you can see when I click on it, it's supposed to pop up. There we go. It's supposed to pop up that window that just disappeared on me. There we go. That's what's frustrating me about this thing. If I click on mount, it should pop up a window to let me mount stuff. And all I get is this blank window.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try it out on a different distro and see if, or maybe try, if I log out of, no, I don't want to do that. How do I
Well,
log out?
here's the thing. When you log out, that second from the bottom, that's a log out. when you do that, on your login screen, there's a little icon, looks like a circled mountain. You click on that and select whether you're X11, which is normal default, or Wayland. And you're set at Wayland. That's experimental, as it says. Change it to Cinnamon and log back in.
All right.
It might work.
Maybe that'll fix it.
It should, because your R clone originated in Linux. I would expect it to run in Linux, but it also probably only runs properly right now with X11.
All right. Yeah. See, it's supposed to open up here. This is where it's supposed to open. And I have a remote configured in here called Mega Roosters. And I'll click on Quick Mount. And I'll choose that I want to mount it in the folder Mega Roosters. And mount error, failed to mount, send request URL. Huh.
That's probably what kills Wayland, that error.
So you're supposed to be able to click here in this remote path and see the remote. And I'm clicking on it and it's doing nothing. It's just sitting here frozen.
Could be a normal bug in the piece of software.
If I may,
Go ahead.
Are you ready?
if Wayland is causing an issue, the issue it is causing is with your file manager, Nemo, the navigator.
Ah.
If Nemo experiences a freeze or a crash, and I've had this happen a lot with Cinnamon, you might bring down the whole Cinnamon structure. It might become unstable.
Wow.
And you might actually have to log out and back in again, and you'll lose everything. Even then, you may not be able to get some things like this to work if they're crashing Nemo, which is what's happening.
Yeah.
Or they could be crashing something else in Cinnamon that is X11 dependent and still not ready for Wayland. But it's not your file system. It's not your file system itself. You don't have corrupted file systems. It is the file navigator. It is the navigator. And maybe if you found a different file navigator, it might work.
Yeah, see, it's not even mounting it anymore.
Be careful what you wish for there. I have seen articles and videos that say really be careful about having more than the default file browser in a distro, because it can cause big conflicts just with that alone.
Yeah, if they're trying to run simultaneously or one on top of the other. So
basically, you would have to take out Nemo and replace it with another one like Dolphin as an example.
Yeah, if you know of one that is known to work under Wayland without these issues, then you would do a replacement on an experimental machine.
Yeah, don't do it on a primary, don't do it on your secondary. Only experiment on trinary systems. Those are systems that you do all your experimenting on, whether it's a new distro for evaluation or something along that line. The trinary system gives you an insurance policy. When you are certain it is running good and solid for you, you like the change that you made, then cautiously put it on your secondary system and see how that works out. And the last one to change would be your primary system. It's
okay.
Right. So
Yeah,
that
but
time
let
it
me
works.
clarify that Drew's using X, not Wayland right now.
Yeah. And I just got it to mount. This is my mount right here. Right here.
Right.
And these are my remote files that are up on the cloud.
Right.
So I did get it to work just now.
Did you do anything special just before then?
Just
You made
repeatedly.
You made a change.
I switched from the Debian version to the app image version
Of what?
of rclone UI.
So possibly dependencies.
Yeah, it could be.
And
Possibly the app image knows Wayland.
I don't know.
Boy,
It might have been just
But he's
Killing
not
the-
on Wayland.
He's got an app image, and even if he's not on Wayland, there might be some component or another in Cinnamon, for example, that isn't compatible even under X. You're right, John. He's on X.
but if I click here, if I click this down arrow, this is supposed to show me stuff, and it's not showing me anything. When I click here, it opens this box. But you'll see that if I choose the mount point as downloads, for example, it should fill it in here, and it's not filling it in. So it's just not working right.
Yeah.
If that developer has a forum, you might want to check that out to see if others are having similar problems, and that way the developer can try and address the issues. That's the
Yeah, because
best suggestion.
all we're doing right now is guessing.
Yes.
Yeah,
All speculation.
but I haven't had any trouble with it under Windows, just under Linux, which
That's
is strange
surprising.
because, as you said, it comes from the Linux world.
Yeah, but right now we've been in transition for more than a year between X11 and Wayland, and we're stumbling across surprises of things that were working that aren't working correctly now. And when we find out we're logged into Wayland because we didn't remember that and switch back to X11, the problem disappears quite often. If it's in both, then there's a bug in the developer's software that they need to be aware of and try and see if they can figure out what's causing it and correct it. But that's true of any software on any platform. I don't care what it is, whether it's Windows, Mac, BSDs, Linux, and other. So,
Okay.
Bob, you can go
Yeah.
ahead with yours now.
All right. First thing I'd like to do is share my screen. And here we go. Share desktop, share, and bring up browser. And let me see if I can hide the controls.
I shove them off to the right side.
Okay, let's just get them.
We don't see him right now.
Right.
Everything's fine.
Yeah.
So you see my full browser
Right.
and everything.
Yes.
And I'll get you guys over where I don't need you. And what I'm showing is a screenshot that somebody took of something that was happening. Actually, it was a photograph of their monitor while they were booting Linux Mint. And this can happen in any Ubuntu flavor. They got an EFI stub warning. Failed to measure data for event 1. Sometimes there'll be a hang. Sometimes you won't get booting, but usually after a time it'll boot. But it gives this scary looking message. So what's going on here? What I found, and I'm stopping the share. What I found was through many different forums, there seems to be something going on with Windows and especially Windows 11 where they keep changing the secure boot keys. This affects things in Linux that are called the shim, which is unique to Linux and supplies TPM and secure boot keys, among other things. And it allows you to boot and not disturb the ability of Windows to boot. But Windows will update from time to time. They've even been known to blacklist some TPM keys, which made USB drives, including Ventoy, no longer boot until they updated their shim. And otherwise, basically, the solutions say, go into your BIOS, turn off secure boot, turn it, get rid of the keys, go to defaults, restore to default keys, and then I turn Secure Boot back on if you need it for Windows. And this does carry the danger that you won't be able to boot Windows 11 if it changed their keys. And you can't recover those. You may not be able to recover those again unless you know how to back up your Secure Boot keys. And who does? So the point is, unless your system isn't booting after this message, what the EFI stub is it's a little tiny piece of a kernel. It's just a very minimal kernel that has one function: to get you from UEFI into your root directory, whereupon boot, or into your boot partition if you've got one, whereupon grub takes over. There is a way to make sure that you go directly to grub without some of the steps that are involved in this stub, and that sometimes seems to solve the problem as well. But it requires configuring grub in ways that most of us would find a nightmare. So if it isn't causing a problem other than maybe a delay, my Mint takes longer to boot than LMDE, which is Debian and doesn't show the stub message. So if it's just a delay, it would probably be best to leave it as is and just consider it a little annoyance. It's some of this screen garbage that Linux will kick up at boot on some machines. So that's what I found, and I don't know if anybody else has experienced this, but it does happen on some machines, especially if you also run Windows 11 on them.
Yeah, I've had a few problems with stub issues and not booting up in Secure Boot on some machines, not all machines. For the most part, I would say I don't have much of a problem. It's maybe 10% at most, but it is an issue that does come up. I'll try the idea of clearing the keys. I've done that before. It's clearing the keys is a BIOS function. So you have to know how to get into your BIOS. And last month I gave out information that Earl McCoy here provided that gives a lot of manufacturers boot keys to get you into BIOS. In Windows, I just learned in 11 a cute trick that'll allow you to go from Windows into your boot menu and make changes. But it's taking you out of Windows, and you got to load back Windows. Peter. Peter.
Is this a dual boot issue?
Hello? I couldn't hear you quite.
Okay, Bob, is this
Yeah.
a dual boot issue?
It will be more severe in dual boot cases, but remember, running Linux from an external drive is a dual boot.
Okay, so if you run it as the primary only, you're okay. If you
if there's no
install Linux on the drive that's in the box, it's a non-issue.
The issue.
No Windows, no problem. No Windows, no problem.
Right.
Okay.
But even with Linux, on some machines, on some versions of Linux, I have run into this problem, and there is no Windows on the machine at all. So it can happen on a machine. I don't have any specifics that will say this is the culprit, this manufacturer's machine, or this make and model of machine, et cetera, because I got too many different machines to try and narrow that particular issue down.
Tim, had those machines ever had Windows on them?
Probably a previous owner.
That would set the keys.
Well, yeah, but like I mentioned, I know how to clear the keys, and I've done it many times on lots of systems.
Okay.
So if I do run into this problem again, I'll go into the BIOS and try clearing the keys. But a number of my machines, I have gone in cleared the keys without seeing such a problem. Just to get make sure that all prior users' keys are removed.
If you're converting completely from Windows to Linux, that sounds like a good idea.
It could be. It's just a case where here's another negative on Windows. In my Windows 10 and 11, on only about 4 machines or 5 machines, I have an add-on to the firewall that Windows provides. It gives me outbound control only, in addition to the Microsoft firewall inbound control, and it manages both sides of it. And I usually have it at a medium setting. If you put it to the high setting, you get nothing. I mean, zippo. It's just like having no internet whatsoever in your place.
Yeah.
On medium, Microsoft drives me nuts, and probably some of the companies supporting Microsoft with their software distributions, because they end up changing Web 2 view so much that I can launch a browser and suddenly it cannot connect to a page. If I bring up the firewall control, check it out, I find, they made 1 to 3 or 4 changes in Web 2 view. I allow them to go ahead, and suddenly it all works again. It's a nightmare. I don't know all of what the heck Microsoft is doing, if it's to deal with security problems, because the bad people are getting more crafty and using AI more and more to get around a lot of problems much quicker. And it could be related to that, or they don't care how many problems their changes make. But once a month is one thing. This is an ongoing problem.
Yeah, I was wondering, is it just the monthly updates that are doing this? Or does it happen just seemingly randomly? So it might even be the security intelligence updates that do it.
It's mostly a Web 2 view. There are some other changes, and you have to go in and you'll find other applications other than browsers that are having problems too, that you have to allow, and they keep changing too, because Microsoft changes the whole game. So that's another downfall.
So the question then is there any seeming pattern? Was there a security intelligence update, a Windows Defender update, or is Microsoft doing this silently in the background?
It's all done in the background in probably the cumulative updates. And it's a case where Web 2 View, I never bothered to look into depth about what the heck Web 2 View is about, but it's an enhanced HTML feature. I forget exactly what the heck it's supposed to do, but they are making so many changes to that. It's like surprise, surprise. Today something's working, tomorrow it's not working. And it can be literally that stark of a change. Of course, Microsoft is being alleged to have released an August cumulative update. Some people are claiming is killing their SSDs. I have not run into any of that problem so far, and it makes me wonder, is there a possibility, and it's a real possibility, that some of the people running 10 or 11 may have storage corruption problems they don't even know about, and that might trigger this mess that seems to kill the SSD. But like I say, I haven't run into it, and I got so many machines here, it's not even funny. And usually I only get to a fraction of them, but right now I've got probably between 12 and 18 machines right around my immediate location, let alone others not too far away. So I've got tons and tons of 10, 11, and various distros of Linux. Right now, I haven't been running an RPM one for a while, but I have a couple Arch, and I have several different Debian-based systems running, and I experiment with trinary systems. I've tried to work on a couple servers, but my time has been so slight, I haven't been able to get back to the servers that I'm trying to experiment with. One of these days, maybe around Christmas time and January, maybe I'll have more time to work on those. That's what I did this past year. Drew?
Yeah, while you were, the last few minutes, my desktop has 3 desktop environment choices: Cinnamon default, Cinnamon software rendering, and Cinnamon on Wayland.
That's right. That's normal.
I just chose Cinnamon software rendering, and the software works now.
Ah, that's funny. I'm not joking when I say that's funny, because basically speaking, if you have regular X11, if there's any real hardware in your system to code and decode graphical information, that's how it's done. In the software emulation, all your video is being done by software going through the CPU, and you're not using the regular graphics output to do coding and decoding.
Well, you have to remember, I'm running in a VM to begin with, so that could be contributing to the problem.
It's a possibility. VMs are not perfect. You can run into all kinds of problems. So the best thing to do is to test this thing not in VM, but as a native single application.
Yeah, I have a USB drive that I can boot from that has Unix and Linux installed on it. That'll be my next way to go.
That would probably be your best bet. But I have, I will give a word of warning, because I've experienced it myself several times, and I'm getting better at remembering this little gotcha. If, let's say, I have a system with another distro of Linux or Windows running on it, and I boot up off of a USB interface to a Linux version, some things that you may do to that drive will corrupt your whole system. And that means any drive that's on that system can end up getting corrupted in some fashion. Some of it is minor and it's easy to rectify. Some of it is major. So when I am doing certain operations, whatever I've got installed in a computer, I take it out and I only put in storage for what I'm going to experiment with. And that way I do no harm to other operations working on that same computer. Bob?
Yeah. As Drew, as soon as you said virtual machine, it just was like that. You have to do almost everything as software rendering in Linux if you're going to do it as a virtual machine. If you really want to be sure that it's going to communicate with the actual hardware, because it's communicating through what is essentially a translation layer.
Ah.
Okay. So, but this is the first program that I've ever run into that had a problem like this.
There may be a lot of others out there. You just don't happen to know about them because you never run them.
Yeah, and this one is a mounting and unmounting app, and it integrates with your file explorer, and so it does more than just a notepad app.
Right, and that may be where some of the problem is at, especially since it's in a VM.
Yeah, if your file explorer is virtualized, I would recommend trying your desktop environment with software rendering, if it's available. That's a general, you should do this if you're in a container.
I wonder if that would also cure your password manager problem with a Flatpak.
Not so much. Flatpak communication is an entirely different thing. Even inside of a virtual machine, it's like putting a container inside of a container.
Yeah, I know. But because it's the software rendering and he uses VMs quite a bit, I would experiment with it.
Yeah, worth a shot.
Nothing to lose. Maybe something to gain. I don't know. Anybody got anything else before I try and get into the material I've got? Which we're not going to cover everything. And I do have a handout because I got 33 things. And if we get to 10 of them, we're really doing fantastic. All right, let's see if I can screw things up here. All right, now, come on, be nice. There we go. All right. Yeah, this is getting to be a nightmare too. Just these, this here. But I have noticed on a lot of my systems, the browsers are killing a lot of the ads from YouTube. Not all of them, but most of them. All right, now, this is 18 minutes long. We're not going to go, 13 minutes long. We're not going to go through all of it, but this I came across and it looks kind of interesting. It's a problem that exists on any computer. And I have a feeling I'm not sharing my sound.
That's true.
Yeah, well. Oh, okay. Clicked on the wrong thing. Come on. There we go. Now let's try it again.
How to find your duplicates on Linux and how to deal with them. Welcome to Linux Ort. Today we have a look into our files or on our file system, because I have some files which might be duplicated and I want just to find them all, find for example also similar pictures which might have a different resolution and so on. How do we do that on our Linux system? First of all, I open up my software manager and we are looking for a software called Chafka. I hope I pronounce it kind of correctly. Honestly, I highly doubt that. I'm searching for this tool. Here we have it. And we install this program here and then we can launch it right away. And here we have this simple program. At first, how is the structure of this program? Here in our horizontal line, we can define where to look and what paths to look and what to exclude and something like this. And then here in this line, we can select what do we want to search or for what do we want to look after. Let's just start very, very quick with duplicate files. And the only thing I have to issue is this search button here down under, and it is now searching all my files. And then I'm seeing all my duplicate files here. We have home, genre, neovim, home, genre, icons, for example, and so on. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of my system folders, of my hidden folders, also to be searched from this program. So we have to configure it somewhere that we don't want to search such hidden folders in our home folder. For that, I can go whether to excluded directories and then select the specific directory. But to be honest, I want all .files and .folders be excluded. So I go to the items configuration, and here we see our excluded icons. There are already some excluded icons in there, but what I'm doing now here is write a comma, and then I can write /home/* and then slash, and then dot, and then a star again, like this. And then if we search again, just have a look, for example, to this pink.png, where it is also in .config wallpapers. If I search it again, then we don't see this pink.png in there, because we now only are searching for folders which are not hidden on our personal home folder. And this is, in my eyes, a very good addition to this excluded items filter. Yeah, and then we see all the duplicates which are checked by hashing algorithm here. We could also go only, for example, by size or by name. For example, all files which have the same name and in a case sensitive name, for example. Then if we search again, maybe we find some more files which also have some different sizes, as we see it here, for example. Normally you want to search for a hash, and if we search again, then you find the real duplicate files which are exactly the same. And then we can define what could we do with them. For example, we could select all except the biggest, for example. Then per group, all but the first are selected, and then we can define, okay, please delete these other files. For example, we could move these other files, we could save it somewhere else, or we could create symlinks. But for symlinks and hardlinks option, we have to select everything here, select all, and then we can define, okay, create a symlink, for example. This is the same thing if we have a look, for example, to our document folders, and if I then go to the document here, for example, and then select edit and then select make link. So this creates a symlink, so-called in Linux, which I guess every one of you already saw. And yeah, this is just a link to this real file here. And as Linux has two types of links, we have symlinks and hard links. The thing you are knowing is the symlink. So this is a very small file which says us, hey, I am just a link for this file, and then this link is only on one place. The hard link is working quite similar, but we don't see it in our file manager that this is, or this might be a hard link, because this link option is on our file system itself. Then we don't see it ever again, that two file entries in some different folders, for example, are referring to the very same file on the file system itself. This might be very cool in the first thought, but if you are changing later some file and you don't know it, that this has also a duplicate hard link, then this file at the duplicate hard link also adapts to its content, kind of. So please don't use this hard link options unless you really know what to do. For example, a kind of good option could be to create a symlink, for example, or just to ask yourself, are there some paths which are all the same and which maybe I could delete manual by going into the specific folder here, for example, and delete, for example, a specific folder because I see it everywhere in this duplicate file entry list. This could be also very helpful. But what we are doing now is to select everything, and then I create a symlink. And then if we have a look, for example, this logo.svg is the same, or all these files are the same, to be honest, which are also in our downloads folder. And if then I'm clicking on the symlink option, then I hit OK, and then we don't see any duplicates anymore. And if we have a look to our file manager again, And if we reload everything, we see there are now some files linked to the other folder here, to this documents my i3. But if we have a more detailed look to it, we see that there are still many files duplicated right now. This seems awkward, doesn't it? But this is depending on the file size also. And because here we have a 7.8 kilobyte file, and if we have a look, for example, to our logo SVG, which has been symlinked here and has been identified as a duplicate, is this is a lot more bigger. It is about 27.9 kilobytes, and we have a limit on this. We go to items configuration, and here we see our minimum size. So we need at least 16.384 kilobytes, which only guarantees us that it only finds duplicates which are a lot bigger than a very small text file. But we could also, for example, lower this to 0 size, from 0 to 9999999 and so on. And then if we search again, then we see there are a lot more files being searched. Let us give it a moment, and then we see again also our things in documents. Here, documents, my test cases T, and so on. Then if I go to select all, and then select symlink again, then select OK. And then if we have a look again, then we see, okay, now all files I copied here are now symlinked, and yeah, I didn't copy every file here, so this is all right. And now we have this minimum size disabled, kind of, but usually it makes sense to give it a limit, for example, about 16,000 bytes, which are 16 kilobytes, which makes it much more faster. And to be honest, such small files are not wasting our file system. And I would agree to the software developers that it only makes sense for kind of bigger files to be searched for duplicates. Then we also could have a look for empty directories. Here we see some, we could delete them if we want. We could have a look for all big files. For example, give me please the 50 biggest files. And we see here, oh, I have an ISO file of Xubuntu in my downloads folder. So if I don't need this, I could, for example, select this and then delete this guy here. So yeah, I will select OK here, and then this is gone, for example. Now, yeah, we have saved a lot more disk space, for example. Of course, also empty files, they could be handy. Okay, we have some empty files here, but to be honest, some files are okay to be empty. So just be very, very careful what you delete here. In the most cases, you don't want to delete anything here, because yeah, also the size on the disk is very, very low for these files. And we also have maybe some temporary files. Okay, we have some similar images. This is much more interesting. Let's have a look if we find some images. Honestly, I'm looking for a specific file. Okay, now I'm finding it. I had to turn down the similarity a bit, but in the practical case, you want the similarity on very, very high. Then on very high, we don't see anything here. But if I lower the similarity a bit, then I see some pictures which are kind of the same. Just have a look. I just click on this and click on this. Oh yeah, they are kind of similar, but not too similar if we see it here. This one has no taskbar in it, and this one has a taskbar in it. So very interesting. But I'm looking for these both images here, this image WebP and PNG. Okay, yeah, I understand it, that the similarity is not too good here, because I messed it up a bit to find some both very similar looking images. Okay, I understand that this has a bit similarity issues as we see it here. But what I wanted to show you, okay, please hold your breath. It is such a picture here. We have two complete different pictures as it comes to also our file size, our resolutions, but also to the image format. Here we have a PNG image and then a JPEG image, but it also found it also with very high similarity. We also find it. This is very, very cool. And so now we could also decide decide, okay, what to do with these images. Do we want to create a symlink? Do we want to do anything with them? But yeah, this is what I wanted to show you. Yeah, you could have some particular different images kind of here, different file size, different file ending. The file name could also be different, of course, but also different dimensions. And we see the similarity here, and also find our similar images. This is very, very cool. I just wanted to show it to you. Also, similar videos is, yeah, kind of similar. Music duplicates you could also find if you want to. And we could also search for invalid symlinks, something to broken files or also bad extensions. But honestly, in the most cases, you want to use the duplicate files here, maybe empty directories and similar images. This is a great power of this program, also called Hiccup. This is the translation for Kafka, I guess. Yeah, very, very nice program. Not so nice program name, or maybe hard to remember, but the functionality of this program I just wanted to show you with this video. And yeah, this was basically it for this video. So if
And I want to mention here, because of something that came up in the South Suburban Windows meeting, that YouTube and almost all the video players, like VLC as an example, Cinematic or something like that, that's in Linux, etc., they usually have a feature for adjusting the playback speed lower than normal or higher than normal, especially if you're trying to follow along and make your own notes or something like that, to be able to try and do something that is being suggested there. That's an option. You just in YouTube, the little gear down here has settings, and it gives you the ability to control the playback speed. Right down here, the second one from the bottom, this is normal, but I can change it to 1/4 normal, half normal, 3/4 normal, 1 1/4, 1 1/2, etc., up to 2 times as fast. And if you think some of these people talk fast, try it at 2. You won't get probably even one word that you understand. Anybody got any comments about this tool? Hearing none, I'll move on. Okay.
Tips and tech tutorials.
Yeah.
Thanks. Welcome to a stunning Linux Mint transformation. In this video, we'll turn the default Cinnamon desktop into a beautiful macOS style environment. Get ready for smooth window animations that stretch like jelly, sleek macOS style title bars and buttons, and an elegant top panel with a polished Plonk dock at the bottom.
Before you go off the deep end, you don't have to follow exactly what he's saying, turning your desktop to look like a Mac. That's unnecessary. But what he's presenting are tools that give you much higher degree of customization. And there's a lot of people who think Mint looks pretty drab these days and could use a facelift. So this guy's trying to give you the tools to do that.
Install gorgeous Big Sur icons, Apple-style cursors, and even the iconic San Francisco font. From the moment you minimize a window to the way your dock glides into view, this setup will feel just like macOS, without ever leaving Linux. Let's dive in and give your Mint desktop a complete macOS makeover. Let's face it, the default Linux Mint Cinnamon desktop is functional, but far from inspiring. It's got a flat look, dull icons, and zero animation flair. The windows snap open like cardboard, and everything feels just a bit static. But what if we could give it the smooth, premium look of macOS without switching systems? In this video, I'll show you how to transform Linux Mint into a sleek, elegant macOS-style interface. We'll use the Burn My Windows extension to add stunning animations that stretch and bounce just like macOS. We'll replace the default theme with the White Sur GTK theme for beautiful rounded window corners and Mac style buttons. Our desktop icons and cursors replaced with a pixel-perfect macOS icon pack and Apple cursor theme. We'll set up Plonk, a lightweight dock that looks and feels just like macOS's iconic bottom dock. And to tie it all together, we'll install the San Francisco font, the official Apple typeface. Add in some gorgeous Big Sur and Sonoma wallpapers, and the transformation is complete. You'll still be running Linux Mint, but your desktop will look like it came straight out of Cupertino. And the best part? Everything is free. With everything already themed, let me now show you how to add those slick macOS style window animations. We'll open System Settings, go to Extensions, and launch the settings for Burn My Windows. Here you can choose from effects like Magic Lamp, Explode, or even Burn, and apply them instantly. These effects bring life and motion to your desktop, making every window action feel fluid and dynamic. Let me demonstrate a few of my favorite effects so you can see the difference they make. Let's start by giving our desktop a macOS-style window appearance using the popular White Sur theme. First, we install a few required packages using the terminal. Then, we clone the White Sur GTK theme from GitHub and run the installer script. If you're using the Cinnamon desktop, don't forget to add the "-C flag for Cinnamon-specific tweaks. Next, let's update our icons to macOS. We'll clone the White Sur icon pack from GitHub and run its simple install script. Once installed, you'll instantly notice the rounded and colorful macOS-style icons across your desktop. To add that clean and minimal dock at the bottom, we'll install Plonk, a lightweight and highly customizable dock. Just launch it from the terminal or set it to start automatically with your system. You can configure it by holding the Control key and right-clicking on the dock. Finally, let's mimic the signature macOS window animations, the ones that stretch and bounce when you minimize or restore windows. To do that, we'll install the Burn My Windows extension. After installation, head to System Settings, Extensions, Window Effects, and enable Burn My Windows. Choose the Magic Lamp animation to get that jelly-like effect you'll recognize from macOS. To complete the macOS experience, let's install Apple's iconic San Francisco font. We'll grab the font from a GitHub repository and copy it into our System's Fonts folder. Once installed, you can set it as the system font from Cinnamon settings, giving your desktop a cleaner, more authentic macOS feel. Let's top it off with some beautiful macOS wallpapers. We'll download official Big Sur and Sonoma style wallpapers and set them as our desktop background. Combined with the theme and icons, this really pulls the whole look together.
Now that our desktop is fully themed, let's test out some window animations using Burn My Windows. We'll head into the Cinnamon extensions and open the Burn My Windows settings. From here, we can choose effects like Magic Lamp, Explode, or Burn, all with real-time previews. These animations add that extra layer of polish and fun, making your Linux Mint desktop feel alive. Let's try a few of them and see how they transform the way windows open and close.
And there you have it, a complete macOS-style makeover on Linux Mint Cinnamon. From stunning window animations in a slick dock to authentic fonts, icons, and wallpapers, your desktop now looks and feels like macOS without sacrificing the power and freedom of Linux. If you found this guide helpful, give it a thumbs up, share it with other Linux fans. Slick dock to authentic fonts, icons, and wallpapers. Your desktop now looks and feels.
Quit. All right. Any questions or comments on this one? I mean, there's a lot of people that don't like the plain look of Mint. You think this would help some of them out if they are experienced enough to follow what this guy is talking about?
I like Girl's comment in the chat.
Yeah, if you don't like one desktop, find another. That's the beauty of Linux. You can do that. But I have done my share of theming. icon selection, etc. I don't think I'd go to the extreme that this guy did, but I've done things that for me are more ergonomic.
Well, some of these, if you go into settings, you have themes that you can check out. Themes, your fonts, and they have
We don't see that.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a pop-up.
Yeah. Hang on a minute. I may have to exit this share and then reshare the desktop.
Yeah, try that.
Then try it again. And in here, effects, fonts, themes, backgrounds, they usually have a download tab where you can download more things than what are showing available. Only those with a check mark get executed. Everything else is just there and available. Let's take, for example, here. This one does not have download capability. This is all you see and what you get. But if you come over to themes, you have this version here and this version here. So you got three things to select from, whether you have mixed, dark, or light environment, and color selection, and advanced settings. Advanced settings has add and remove themes, and as well as changing some settings. And then when you want to graduate more, you have actions, applets, that adds features and functions. You have desktop itself, extensions, and things like hot corner. I use hot corner. If I go up to the top corner here, these are all my open windows. If on the other hand, I come up to this one here, these are all my desktops. So it depends on what I'm using. And I have down here, usually in this corner, just blank the desktop and let me see what's there natively. So there's lots of little gotchas that are buried in the settings. And if you've never reviewed them, you need to take some time periodically and see if you can find out more of what's available there. There's also, hang on a minute, I'm trying, there we go. Down here in your panel, if you right click the panel, you've got applets available from this location besides the settings screen. So these are applets, and only those with a check mark are actually running. Everything else is available, but it's not actually running in your system until you hit the plus, you highlight it and hit the plus key. That activates it. If you decide you don't want it and it's checked, you hit the minus key to uncheck it, and its effects are no longer available. You also have a download so that you can find out more tools, more modifications. Just don't get carried away with this stuff. It can, you can end up literally choking your system to death. So keep it to a minimum. Now in the Mint, there is a feature, and I can't remember now where it's at. It'll come to me later. I'll just deal with it later. And all right. And I don't want that. And I don't need this anymore. go. All right. Now back to this. So I'm going to kill that one. And this stuff's all in a handout, so don't panic. You'll get the titles and the URLs to get to them. Come on.
Linux Mint. With this, welcome to Linux Ort. My name is Jean and I have a fresh Linux Mint installation here. We see a new welcome screen. You will see some first steps you could do. You can get back to the window anytime by clicking on your menu on the left bottom side, then searching here for welcome screen. But for now, let us just disable this dialog at startup and just close down this window. The first thing we should all do is going to our update manager. You could open the update manager by clicking on the shield here on this taskbar, or just search for update manager in your menu. Then we are greeted by the update manager. We just hit OK, and then we see there's a new version of the update manager available. We say apply the update and then select continue. We type in our password. After installing the updates of the update manager, we could, if we want, switch to a local faster mirror if you want, but otherwise the default Linux Mint mirror is also fast enough. But if you want to get more speed off your computer, just hit yes here, type in your password. Here we could now click on each source here, main and base, and then select a faster mirror here. This is up to you. I leave it as the default now. Otherwise, we can now decide if we want to do updates manually on our Linux Mint or if we want to let them happen automatically. And I highly recommend you to let them happen automatically because there are multiple updates every week appearing on this update manager. So for your security and also for your convenience use, I recommend you selecting edit here, then select preferences, and then here in preferences select the automation, and then we could select here apply updates automatically. I type in my password and I also activate all the other things. Then your system keeps itself clean and you get also other updates for Flatpaks, which is a newer program technology, and also for your extensions of your Cinnamon desktop, which is your graphical desktop you see here. From now on, the updates are happening automatically, but there's one thing you need to care about. If you want to shut down your computer and you don't see the restart and the shutdown button, please wait for a few minutes, because then there are updates happening in the background, and only shut down your computer if it is really advised here and if this is available. This is very important, otherwise your computer might not start again so easily. But if that happens, you can also fix it. If you want, I could also upload a video about this, how to fix this specific case. Let us come to another point which might be very important for you, and this is additional drivers. We head down to our menu and search for additional drivers, or driver manager it is called. And now Linux Mint is looking for drivers, but these are only additional drivers because almost all drivers are just right built into the Linux kernel, and on the most systems you don't need any additional driver. There might be some driver changes useful if you're using an NVIDIA card. Then you will see here a recommended NVIDIA driver. This I could highly recommend you if you really want to use the 3D acceleration. Then this proprietary NVIDIA driver will be almost necessary. This is it for the driver manager. Nothing more to do for me. Otherwise, just select this, hit install, and then select reboot if this is available afterwards. There's also some other tool we might need to activate, and which makes it a bit more secure for other applications and of course for you, and this is enabling the firewall. So I just search for firewall configuration here. Here we have it, and we open this up. We type in our password, and inside here there's a very easy thing we can do. We could start here our firewall. Now every incoming transaction will be blocked by default. So please keep in mind that this blocks all traffic from the outside, but sometimes your applications you install on your computer are communicating to the outside, and this the firewall isn't blocking. And I highly recommend you not to also deny the outgoing things, because otherwise you can't really do anything afterwards on your computer. There are some rules you could apply here if you want to get much more detailed in the networking with your computer. For the rest, this is fully okay, but if you want to get more detailed, then there are some other tools like IP Snitch, for example. This is one of the tools I could recommend you for such a case, but normally you don't want to do that. Now let us come to the software manager here. Let's open up the software manager. We could just open it up here. This is your so-called Play Store maybe, but for Linux. After some time, we see our software manager up here, and we see many applications which we could just install with one click. For example, VLC, Dropbox, and so on, VirtualBox. And there is one tool I recommend, and this is Gear Lever, it is called. Let's have a look. Here it is. This is an application which is managing app images. App images are kind of portable Linux apps, very, very cool, very neat. And if you ever step on an app image, I highly recommend you this app. I also highly recommend you just to install it. You won't recognize it at any point until you step over an app image. We will install an app image very, very soon. What I also can recommend you installing a second web browser. For example, what I can recommend is the browser Chromium. We have two different options. For example, the ungoogled Chromium or the normal Chromium. I'm going with the normal Chromium here. So just select Chromium here and then select install here. Then you are getting Google Chrome, but in a open source way, and this is much more suitable if you want to join web meetings and have more complicated websites running. Then this Chromium web browser is a very, very good alternative to Firefox and also to Google Chrome, but Chromium doesn't play DRM content, so for some video players this isn't suitable. YouTube and such things are working quite fine, but if you want to play, for example, Disney Plus or Netflix, then this won't work. Then you could go with Firefox, or if you want to stay to the original, you could also install Google Chrome. So we just search for it, and here we have it, and we could download it. For that we need the DEB Debian Ubuntu package for Chrome for Linux Mint, so you could accept and install it. Just download it, click on it, hit install package, and then everything's fine. But I'm sticking to Chromium here. This is, for my opinion, one of the best browsers we ever had, and this is also my daily browser right now. And I would say let us download a very cool app which is in best with the app image format, and this is KDN Live. This is a video editor. If you want one, then this is great. We are also using KDN Live for cutting our videos, so I select download here. I highly recommend you the app image of KDN Live. So this is the portable Linux format, so just download it here. After it has been downloaded, we could just now single click on it. For that you have to have Gear Lever installed, and here we have this Gear Lever program which is just managing our app images. I select unlock here, and then I can select move to the app menu. Very, very cool. We now could close this window here, and now our system is also capable of handling app images. And if I'm searching for KDN Live, perfect, here we have it. This is just a portable app. We just now integrated fully into our Linux system, and the app image base is also growing a lot. Also, there are some other technologies in Linux Mint integrated. The normal system package manager, for example, also for Chromium, and also the Flatpak base, which is also just available in the software manager. it's just fine. You are now very prepared for almost all Linux apps out there. One next point I highly recommend you, if you opened up LibreOffice, very good tool in my opinion. On my Linux Mint version, this icon toolset isn't right, so what I can recommend you is going to Tools, then Options, then View, and here we select the theme and we want only Colibre. Then I hit Apply and then everything's fine. And what I also could recommend you for LibreOffice is heading to View, then User Interface, and then I select tabbed mode. Here we have it, apply to all, I select, and then we have a very similar way how to handle files and document files, like on Microsoft 365, for example. But if you want to stick with Microsoft formats, then there is, for example, SoftMaker Office, which are supporting the docx format very good, but this is proprietary software, but also working great with Linux. Other option would be only Office, and this is completely open source, so this could also be an alternative to LibreOffice if you have to deal with Microsoft formats, but otherwise LibreOffice is a great free office suite I'm also using all the day. If I open up LibreOffice again, then I want to introduce you to a very cool feature in Linux Mint. So I open up the menu and search for hot corners. Then we can enable one hot corner on the left top here, and then I select show all windows here. And now if I head over to the top with my mouse, then we see here all open windows we can now switch between, and we can even close some windows just by hitting the middle mouse button or the mouse button on your mouse wheel, and then you could also very fast close some windows you still had opened. Very cool feature. I highly recommend you this. Then we head over to the sound settings here. I select the sound settings on my volume speaker settings here. Otherwise, you could also go to sound settings via the menu. And here we come to sounds. I highly recommend you just to turn the sounds off if you don't have any bling and something like this on your Linux PC. So for me, I'm not wanting this, so I just muted these things. But if you want, just go ahead with these. Also, another point I'm always doing, it's just a very small feature, but it makes a big difference. Changing the default desktop background. Linux Mint comes with great desktop backgrounds just right out of the box. So hit right click on your desktop, then hit change desktop background, and here we could search for some wallpapers, for example, like here Wilma, and here you see many cool things. Also wallpapers. This gives your Linux Mint just a very cool touch. Of course, you could also choose your own pictures. It's completely up to you. So now another thing I'm doing on my Linux Mint machine is adding weather information. So I right click my panel and select applets here. Then inside applets I had download. Then we could add additional mini programs for our panel here, and there is the app called Weather. Great app. Very easy. I just hit download here, select manage, select weather here, select plus, and then we see weather information just right on my location. Very easy, highly recommended. Also, I could highly recommend is to show the date on your clock here. Just left click this one, select date and time settings, and then here I could select display the date, and then we have always set our date here. Another thing we could do is open up the system reports menu. This is this small exclamation mark here on your panel. So I left click this one, otherwise you could open system reports just right through your menu. And here we see set up the system restore utility timeshift. Honestly, I'm not recommending timeshift for an automatic purpose. If you want to store some system snapshot of your specific system, then this is okay, but please do not use it for cloning your system. This won't work. So this is only for a backup solution if you really messed up your system and if you have the disk space available. So for the normal user, I would not highly recommend Timeshift, but if you want to use it, then select Launch Timeshift here. I type in my password, then we select the snapshot type. This is okay. I'm selecting rsync, and then it's estimating our system size. This takes a moment. Now we see our snapshot location, but please have in mind that you only should use Timeshift if you have this disk space. This could take up to 100 gigabytes on production systems. Please be aware of it. So I hit next here, and then we can select another snapshot level for automatic snapshots. These I highly recommend you not to do on your daily basis, because in our Linux support we are getting more Linux user requests that Timeshift is messing up their disk space, that they use Timeshift wrong, and so on. So I only highly recommend it if you want to upgrade to a newer version, or if you want to do a breaking system change on your Linux distribution and you want to have a backup to go back. Then this is fine, not for a kind of daily use. So I highly recommend you turn off daily. If you want, do monthly if you want, but I'm not recommending it on an automatic basis, because on many systems, especially with very small disk space, I'm not recommending automated snapshots at all. So I hit next here, then we leave everything unchanged here, hit next and finish. Here we have it, and if you want now to use Timeshift, for example, if you are doing some great system changes and you want to have a backup of your system, not of your personal files, only of your system, then you could, if you want, use creating and restoring snapshots, but this only works on your own Linux Mint machine. You can't transfer snapshots to other Linux installations. Now we don't have any problems anymore on our system reports. If you have so, just enable them or just execute them, and this is fine. This is it for system reports. And
one interruption there on Timeshift. I have the automatics turned off. I only do the manual ones, and I change the default download location to an external USB drive that I hook up, and then I do the snapshot to it, and when it's done I disconnect the USB drive and run my system like normal. I thought I'd mention that. I mentioned it in Meetup.
another point I could highly recommend you is the night mode, which comes new in Linux Mint 22.1. This is very easy. It turns your screen a bit more red and also turns it automatically a bit more red if the sun goes down on your location. This is automatically working. Very, very cool. Yeah, you don't see anything on your video here because this is only for the screen. I'm seeing it now a bit more red. If you want to make your PC a bit more eye-friendly, so to say. So this is it for this, and now I give you an extra tip, and this is installing Linux Assistant. Linux Assistant is an app programmed by me. It's completely open source and free and is a daily helper for a Linux distribution and does many things we had already done completely automatically. So I just select download here. We need the dep package here, and then hit on this dep file here. Perfect. We are opening the package. I'm installing it. I type in my password and then this is installing very fast. Now I could just open up Linux Assistant. This is a very great daily helper with many functionalities your system distribution does not come with. Also, it's a great search for all your folders or recently used files, and has some very neat things like, for example, security check. I just authenticate myself and it is analyzing system security now. It wants to help you stay more secure. And here we see we are almost doing everything right, but we have 385 packages which should be updated. This is because this is a very old Linux Mint 22.1 machine and we only enabled automatic updates some moments ago. So this takes a bit time, and if I go back here after a few hours, then these updates should be applied and there should also be a green check mark, or otherwise we could also just fix it right here now. I type in my password and now it is doing the update. And of course, it's not doing any magic. You could always display the commands, which it is running in the background. And so this is it for Linux Assistant, I would say. And this is also it for the whole video.
Okay.
Hmm.
Did anybody learn anything that they may not have known?
Absolutely.
That's why I included it, even though it says this is for beginners. That doesn't mean anything. We're all beginners at some point in time.
Yeah, one other thing. I think his app would be worth looking into. It may be one of these things that consolidates a lot of this into one place.
That could be too. It's just like the concept of Microsoft WinToys in the Microsoft Store doing kind of the same kind of deal. A lot of tools in the system that have been there going back to Windows 3 days, and they're scattered all over the place. Most people don't know about them. Windows Toys consolidates it into one location to go through all of them. You don't go do any searching, and it contains tweaks. And I think this does too.
Tim, you may be talking about one of three things. Power Toys,
No,
Win Toys, which is third party, or PC Manager.
WinToys is made by a Microsoft employee, just like Power Toys is made by several employees of Microsoft. Microsoft owns GitHub, and they're going to roll it into Microsoft itself in the next 12 months or so. In addition, I remembered a couple things that I forgot, so I'll bring them up now. If you go to the Start button, and go to the settings, you can also get to this by putting in the search value of the startup applications. This one here can help some people. I don't use Bluetooth very often, so I normally keep it turned off. Power GUI is one of my desktop features. It's mainly, I use it for low-end laptops to just increase the clock speed for idle speed. It will not overclock your CPU. It won't allow that. But it can also help in power management settings if you want, etc. Mint Welcome, I turn that off. And that way it doesn't even try to load it up at boot time, even though I have the check mark taken off that screen and it would not show up when I log in. Print queue, that depends upon whether you have printers. Some people are ditching their printers. They're not using them like they used to. If you're not needing them, you can turn that off. This SSH key, on some of my systems I turn it off. On some of my systems I have it on because I was experimenting with a couple little servers. And NVIDIA support. I don't have hardly any system that has a NVIDIA card, so that comes off. System report I leave on. Update manager I leave on, even though I usually use an alias in a terminal, or I have a new desktop icon that I created. And the last one is XApp Watcher. I haven't seen any detrimental reason to leave it on, so I have had it off for quite some time. In a piece of news that I want to share that I forgot earlier, they've already released a new kernel, 6.16.1. It's available. It has substantial improvements, and they're working on 6.17, and it's even going to have more major improvements. The problem is you don't know when you are going to get it in your distro. And I would speculate mostly Arch issues will have these kernel updates sooner than most of the others. The others will be testing them out to make sure they don't cause problems. Now this one here is a crash course in sudo. So we're going to play this. By the way, these little short ones, they automatically play until you turn them off.
Here's a quick tip for all of you Linux sysadmins out there. Ever type a long command, hit enter, only to realize you forgot sudo? Sure, you can retype the entire command and put sudo in front of it, but who has time for that? Next time this happens, just run this. Sudo and then 2 exclamation marks. What that'll do is rerun your last command, but with sudo in front of it. It's a total time saver. For more Linux tips, subscribe to Learn Linux TV, your source for...
So that's an interesting little tip. I knew about this a while ago. Desktop share hit 6%. Now, I'm not going to play all this mostly because of time, but I'll at least start it off so you get an idea of what this is about.
If you like what you see, give the video a like. It helps this channel and it will help YouTube to put more videos about Linux in front of more people. Also, if you are not subscribed, consider subscribing. I plan on doing a lot of videos with this sort of content coming up in the not too distant future. This video is going to be my thoughts and ruminations on a couple of news stories that popped up in my feed over the last week. The first of which is very important and significant in many different ways. According to ZDNet here, it says Linux has over 6% of the desktop market. And they went on to say, yes, you read that right. Here's how. And they break those numbers down. We'll get into those in just a moment. Now, this story came out in July, and it has taken a while to bubble up for me to see it. And I saw it last week, and it went away very quickly, and I didn't get a chance to check it out. I went and looked at it this morning before doing this video because it's been in the back of my mind. I really need to go see what the deal is with that. And boys and girls, this is actually extremely good news for anyone who has a little bit of a care for what happens with free and open Linux on the desktop. And let's first of all scroll down a little bit, take a look at some of the numbers. The numbers that you're going to see come from the federal government, which means that they're not corporate numbers, they're not influenced by any profit motive anywhere. They're just reporting what they saw on a lot of U.S. government websites over a period of time. And apparently we're talking about 15 billion sessions. Okay, this is a lot. 6% of those logins were from actual Linux distributions. Now, when I say that, I'm talking about free and open Linux. But if you take Android, they say here, and you take Chromebook and you throw that in there, that means that the #1 operating system that these computers saw when they were, these websites saw when they were logged into, was 23%. Now, Windows, if you take Windows 10 and Windows 11, was about 31% here, and they're talking about how macOS was 11.7%. The actual operating system with the most logins, not surprisingly, was Android at 16.2% here. And that would be people who were logging in with their phones, of course. And then, kind of a surprise here, only 0.8% of the folks logging into these sites were using Chromebooks. That seems to be quite a low number. So what we're concerned with here is that 6%. That 6% is a really important number, because when you're dealing with Android and Chromebook, What you're talking about is an operating system that's provided by Google and locked down by Google. It's not free and open. It is a walled garden. That's exactly what it is. Yes, it has Linux at its heart, which for somebody like Linus Torvalds, that's great, right? Because look at all this Linux usage when I'm writing for the Linux kernel, and he's not really caring about whether it's on a free and open desktop or whether it's a lockdown system. Those of us in the Linux community who care about freedom, we care whether it's locked down or not. So that 6%, that's still a major number. If I take you back 10 years ago, which I'm going to do, there was a video that was posted from Brian Lunduke that I remember from that time, where he was talking about how once the Linux desktop share hit 5%, that the software companies and the hardware companies would have to sit up and take notice and start doing a better job of supporting Linux. Now you have to remember, this was 10 years ago. A lot has changed since then. The support is better. As a matter of fact, if you have a computer that has AMD stuff in it, an AMD processor, AMD graphics, chances are you're not even going to have to think about installing a driver. It'll be in the kernel. This is wonderful progress, especially since 10 years ago, AMD was the company with absolutely the worst drivers for Linux. So they have done a huge turnaround. For many years, I used to tell people to stay away from AMD, and now I actually recommend it because I'm not a big fan of Intel or NVIDIA these days for different reasons, but that's for another video at another time. So yeah, this number, this 6%, that is a big, big deal. Now, Brian was talking about 5% as being the goal at that time, and shortly after he said that, there was a spike in early 2016 where the desktop share for Linux jumped up to 4%. And of course, that was the thing. We were getting close. Look at the progress. Oh, wow, this is cool. And then the people who provide those numbers at that time, maybe they probably still do, but they were providing numbers at that time. They said, oh, no, we were wrong. They backpedaled on that, and they said, no, it really is something more like 1.3% or something like that. At that point, I started to really look at those numbers as being dubious and stop paying attention to it. And over the years, I've watched as those numbers have been manipulated again and again and again, and Linux would make a slight increase, and then boom, we were back down to 1-something%, or maybe even below that. Like a couple of years ago, a number came up where it was like 0.9% or something like that, which was utter garbage, because anybody who has worked in this community for as long as I have will tell you that just from talking to people around the world, there's a lot more Linux use than these companies want to admit. And of course, it's all because of a profit motive. That's what you're talking about. The U.S. government doesn't have a profit motive in this case, and they're just reporting what they see. So these numbers are very important. And talking about Brian Lunduke, of course, Brian is still around, but Brian is more interested in politics these days than he is in Linux itself. And so therefore his videos are quite controversial. So do keep in mind that we are talking about Brian Lunduke as of 10 years ago, not what he's doing today. I don't agree with everything.
Okay, I'm going to stop this here, and you can play through the rest of it. I will mention recently, and I have no verification of it, there's an estimate of 500 million worldwide Windows users. I think they're talking primarily Windows 10, that either are going to stay on 10 and never upgrade to 11, and some of them are switching to Linux. So we have the possibility of more people running Linux on their systems. Hope that means more people showing up at Linux meetings of all types. One other thing before I go on, I'm going to come down here to the desktop.
Today we're talking about X Libre and how it's getting released for Fedora, the Linux distribution, under Koper.
Quit doing that. In my desktop icons here, this updater that I made runs really in terminal. I'm going to run it even though I've only got, I think, one update that isn't applied. It brings up a terminal. Just put in your password. And it goes through not only update, whoops. Every now and then I do a typo. Woohoo. Oh, I see why. I hit the caps lock somewhere. Okay. It does the update, upgrade. It does automatic cleanup of a lot of leftover trash, and that's how fast it went. You'll never get that kind of speed out of the graphical updater. But I also have here, I'll bring up a terminal. I have a couple error codes here that I was using AI to try and figure out where they come from. There's some kind of a scripting problem buried in Linux, and I have not gotten resolution to it. You can do this in Mint, and it gives you a lot of statistics about your system and what you're running. You can put neofetch at the bottom of your .bash rc file, and it'll always come up when you launch a terminal. Or in at least one instance, I instead created a desktop icon to launch the terminal and run neofetch only from that desktop icon. But also, while this is here, this is no programming whatsoever, just a desktop icon. If I double click this one, it enlarges everything. It's a fixed amount that you have control of. Mine is currently set at 1.5, and the bottom one here turns it back to normal. It does not work in every window that you bring up, but in many of them it does. It can be a help. These two browsers exist up here and down here, but they're native installed apps, not Flatpaks, not Snappaks. And I have Firejail, which is in the software manager, installed. And these two here, if I double click them, they will launch Firejail and the browser. The other browsers that I've got down here are all in Flatpaks. Those are containerized with sandboxing, and so I don't have to worry about them. But it gives me a touch more security. This is Fire Tools, a third package that can be installed, and this will allow you to take other applications, especially a new one you install, and be able to sandbox it if you feel a little uncomfortable about what it may or may not be doing because you're not that familiar with it. This is a CPU power. This is what I mentioned in the startup menu. This here gives me the ability on individual cores or all the cores to change the minimum idle speed in some of my systems, mostly laptops, and it will not allow you to overclock the top speed of the CPU. So if anybody thinks you're going to get more speed out of your system with this tool, forget it. But it also contains governor policies and energy policies, and you can create a profile like I did here. And if you make a change, you can put the same profile name in, and it just makes the updated version. But it is manual execution when you log in normally. However, I found a way of getting it to automatically launch with my login. All I got to do is it gives me what Microsoft calls the UAC screen, type in my password, and it is set at what I want the system to run at. And all it's doing is, a lot of times on older systems, especially that used to run 10, they run so slow at times because the idle speed can be as low that I've seen on some of my systems as 400 megahertz. I try and raise that to like 900 to 1100. That way I get a snappier response. And the only thing it may hurt on a laptop is you won't get as much battery life. So there's an upside, downside. It gives you better performance without going overboard, and at the same time gives you the ability to see what's what. Now, back to our little nightmare here. And now this one here is Fedora says no to X Libre. Some developer who got in a lot of hot water made X11 Libra, or however they announce that. And it's a very updated X11. Whether this ever spreads to other distros, I have no idea. I just came across this in the last month, and I thought I'd throw it out there. I think Earl made mention of it last month's meeting. So that's all I'm going to do on that one there. You'll see the article and video. Next up. Oops. Oop. What the heck happened there? Now stop messing around with me.
Hi guys, in this video I want to show you how to run almost every Windows software on your Linux PC with 100% compatibility. The only downside is there is not much 3D acceleration, but besides that, everything runs as it is installed on Windows because it is installed on Windows. Today we are running Windows in a box. Windows as a software program in our Linux system, a so-called virtual computer. This tutorial is for complete beginners, so for all who just came.
Now what this amounts to, this guy's got a different way of doing virtual machines other than Xbox, KVM, and several other virtual memory setup options. But it's very interesting.
To Linux and have to use a specific Windows program and cannot run this in, for example, wine or bottles, then we take this method I'm showing you today. So for that we need to install Windows 11 and we have to download Windows 11. We search for it and then we see download Windows 11. And then we see the disk image ISO for x64 devices. We need this one, and I take the multi-edition ISO here, then select download now. then it is validating our request. If you have a VPN enabled, then just disable it at this state. Otherwise, Microsoft doesn't let you download its software. Language, we take English International. In my case, I select confirm, and then we are validating our request. And after some time, we get a download, a link here, 64-bit download. This takes a plenty of time because it is about 5 gigabytes big here. In the meanwhile, we also have to install some other software. For that, I am going to the website virtualbox.org. Here we have it. I select download, and then I select Linux distributions, and then here we are. If you have Linux Mint 21, then you have to take the Ubuntu 22 version. If you have Linux Mint 22, then you have to select the Ubuntu 24 version. And if you have, for example, Linux Mint 23 in the future, then you have to select the Ubuntu version 26.4. I'm running currently on Linux Mint 22.1, so I'm selecting the Ubuntu 24.4 down.
Okay, now I'm gonna stop that one again because of time, and this takes a little too long. You'll be able to play this at your heart content. After all, it's a holiday weekend coming up. You got nothing else to do. All right, and
Like
come on.
to do in this video is basically just ramble on for a while about the concept of having a separate home partition in Linux. Now, I posted a poll Friday evening about this, and throughout the weekend I've had many comments, and a lot of people have participated in the poll. This isn't scientific, this is just people who are in the community who took the time to talk about this a little bit. Thank you very much for all of your feedback. It is very cool. 44% of you said we don't need to bother with home partitions in this day and age. Don't worry about it. I'm assuming that you will just let the installer partition the drive as it wants to and then use the system happily. Another 17% said that they didn't know what a separate home partition was. So if you roll those into the 44% who didn't bother with it, you'll see that the vast majority of users out there don't care about this. And then, of course, there's 23% of you that are hardcore Linux users, and you always do this. Now, I would have been in that category up until Friday, but now I'm starting to wonder whether I need to do this anymore. And then some of you, 16%, said that it depends on the system that you're working on. That's true for me too. There are some systems that I don't bother to put a home directory on. Now, if you're one of those who doesn't know what a home directory is, and you'd like to know, stick around. We're going to walk through the process of setting this up and explaining it. Now, the reason why...
Well, I'm not going to go into the details of that because it's almost 9 o'clock as is. So I'm going to get out of that one. And what I'm going to do is get out of the share so I get control of my ability to bring up the chat. And I'm going to share the handout, and while you guys download it, I'll play the next video at least in part. Okay, it should be available. All right, and I'm gonna go back to share again, and come on, share. And put that down and get rid of that one.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Laptop Retrospective. Today we're going to be talking about Windows 10 no longer being supported as of October 2025. Now, for a lot of people, we've already moved on to more modern hardware that can officially support Windows 11. Now, for those of you that are looking for a rule of thumb, generally speaking, if it's Intel 8th generation or newer, you can support Windows 11 no problem. If we're talking about ThinkPads, that pretty much means that the T480, in terms of generations, is where things are going to start. That would also mean the X1 Carbon Gen 6 is the bare minimum to run Windows 11. We know, as a ThinkPad community, that Linux is awesome and it can run older hardware no problem. In fact, that was my very first introduction on this channel and in my life to ThinkPads and Linux was this ThinkPad X220, and it has been going strong ever since. This has been around the house, in the garage, out in the field. It has done pretty much everything that I could ask a laptop to do, and today it's going to be our benchmark for a series of tests. What I want to answer is how old of a computer can we go with Linux and still get a acceptable experience? Now, I'm going to have to stop here because here's where all the caveats come in. I know that there are people out there that know exactly how to tweak Linux to run on the most bare bones machines. What I will be experimenting with today is fundamentally more simple. Here are the rules that we're going to essentially be doing these tests by. One, we're going to be using a fresh image of 22.1 Linux Mint Cinnamon. And again, I know that that's not the most light distro out there, but that's okay. We are only going to pick machines that have aftermarket.
Okay, that gives you a sample of that. In the list, especially towards the bottom, there's actually somebody who took Mint Cinnamon and installed and got rid of a few problems with KDE Plasma Desktop. I don't know if that interests anybody, but I throw that out there also. It's in the list. Now, does anybody have any questions, issues, comments, etc.? Boy, you're talking a bunch all of a sudden. If there's nothing else, then we'll probably call it a night. I know last month we went overboard. So, if nothing else, then we'll stop.